thought when I first read it. Like, is that exactly what happened? I thought it was about the money, but here's the thing: no matter what Tom Brady does, if Tom Brady goes and wins 3 more rings down there in Tampa, he can't affect Bill Belichick's legacy. I mean, just think about it. Bill Belichick, over the 20 years that Tom Brady and himself were together, 9 Super Bowl appearances, 6 rings. I mean, it's hard to be able to be relevant for that amount of time, and Bill Belichick was a big part of that. Even if Tom Brady was just as big of a part of it, Tom Brady controlled the offense. You still have the special teams player, you still have the defensive guys, so you have to think about that as well. And Bill Belichick was in charge of the culture. He was in charge of making sure that guys understood what the Patriot way was and how to perform that every single week. To me, that was huge. That's a big part of their success up there in New England. The way that Bill Belichick ran that whole thing in New England, it allowed Tom Brady to be who he was. So no matter if Tom Brady goes on to win a bunch of more rings, his ability to win doesn't necessarily affect Bill Belichick. To me, all that Super Bowl did for Tampa Bay and Tom Brady did was really validate that he is the greatest of all time. His ability to be great in one location and then go to another location in less than a year and win another Super Bowl, to me, that just validates who Tom Brady is as a player.
Yeah, I'm with you, Brian. It in no way, shape, or form will ever impact Bill Belichick's legacy, whatever Tom Brady does from here on out, because his legacy has already been cemented, and he is a part of what Tom Brady did, as Tom Brady is a part of what he has accomplished. And so when you talk about the success of Bill Belichick or Tom Brady, you can't talk about it without including one or the other. So, but for me, I just want to focus on what Bruce Arians is saying, because I think there is some legitimacy to the fact that Tom Brady wanted to win and wanted to win a different way. And he wanted to have more fun. He wanted to be able to have say. And I believe that is what he wasn't able to get. When we talk about contract, all the various things, the variables that allowed him to walk out that door, because he did want to stay in New England. That was his first choice. But to your point, Brian, they didn't give him what he was asking for. And a lot of that was more say too. And when you look what he was able to do with the Buccaneers, he had so much input. Bruce Arians is a coach that delegates with not only his coaching staff, but with players that he can trust. And he trusted Tom Brady to change and establish a culture of winning and a mindset of winning. And that's what Tom Brady embraced. That was the challenge. That was the excitement. When you talk to Tom Brady this year, he was up for the challenge of getting to know his teammates, making sure that they knew how important their roles were, not just about what he brought to the table. Because we all have this expectation of players like LeBron and Tom Brady that wherever they go, we expect them to win. That Tom Brady understands that. But how to do it is what's most important. And I think that was what was so appeasing and challenging for Tom Brady. And in this stage in his career, he wanted that challenge. He embraced that role. He looked forward to going to that locker room and that facility every single day and being that guy that they depended on to change that culture. So I think it was a bit a part of him wanting to do it a different way. There's lots of people and media and even ex-players that talked about the Patriot way not being so much fun. Gronkowski even talked about it and has alluded to it on numerous occasions about it's being strict and not as fun. Not meaning that they didn't have fun, but it wasn't as loose. And winning can be done without being so strict. Tom Brady proved that this year with the Buccaneers, Chris.
Look, obviously Belichick's legacy is secure. All right, Chuck Noll, Tom Landry, Don Shula, nobody held it against them that at the end of their careers, they had some losing seasons, didn't make the playoffs every year. All right, they were secure, and so is Belichick. But like those great coaches, Brady is proving, he's already proven it before he even went to Tampa Bay, that Belichick needs a great quarterback to win. And I think where it affects Belichick is this. There's always been this debate. They both get major credit, but who deserves more credit? Tom Brady or Bill Belichick for the dynasty? I've always said it was Brady. And I think the numbers bear that out. And what happened this year in Tampa and what happened this year in New England, to me, is just more evidence. Now, listen to these numbers, guys. These might shock you. Belichick has coached 8 seasons in the NFL without Tom Brady as his quarterback. And that includes New England, where, when Brady got hurt. He's made the playoffs one time in those 8 years without Brady. Once. And that is with quarterbacks like Vinny Testaverde, who went on to make Pro Bowls after, he left Belichick. That includes Drew Bledsoe, who was a Pro Bowl quarterback. We remember what New England was with Belichick before Brady took over. They were 5-11 the year before Brady took over, and 0-2 when Bledsoe got hurt. Brady steps in, they go 11-3, and of course, win the Super Bowl. So here's Belichick's record with Brady playing quarterback. They win 77% of their games when Brady's a quarterback, average season 12-4. Without Brady as quarterback, overall, his whole career, Belichick, 47% of the games he wins. Even in New England, without Brady, he's only won 47% of his games. So I think we saw it this year. They struggled in New England with a former MVP. I don't know what Cam has left, but with a former MVP at least, Brady, what he's doing and what he did this season was, to me, prove beyond a doubt that he deserved more of the credit than Belichick did. You're right. The defenses was Belichick's specialty, and they were great, and they definitely helped him win those Super Bowls. But Brady, maybe it wasn't, at least offensively, the Patriot way as much as it's the Tom Brady way.
The only pushback that I have there for you, Chris, is that, Tom Brady was a big part of that. We understand that. But again, Bill Belichick won with some system guys. He won with a bunch of guys that just worked the system. They weren't great players anywhere else except for New England. And of course, Tom Brady was a big part of getting those guys in the right place at the right time and throwing the ball to them. And of course, Tom Brady is the GOAT. Here's the other thing I would wonder. If Tom Brady, they said, we'll find better pieces in New England, we'll pay you the money, would Tom Brady have won there? To me, he went to Tampa Bay, a much looser environment, but I think Tom Brady has a lot of Bill Belichick in him. He wants those routes to be 12 yards. He wants them to be 10 yards. He has the detail that Bill Belichick certainly wants from all of his players, and maybe he's a little bit looser, but he's looser when they're winning. When they're not winning, like Bill Belichick wasn't, and when you talk about those other years, he was tight. He wanted to make sure that they were doing things the right way. I think this narrative kind of fits Tom Brady now because they won this season, but I would wonder if things would be different if they were started 7-5 like they did this year, and they didn't win their next 7 or 8 games in a row. They only won 2 or 3 of those games. I think we would be saying a whole different story about Tom Brady at this point, Greg.
I agree 100% with what you're saying, Brian. And Chris, the one thing that I would push back on you when you talk about Belichick needing Tom Brady, a great quarterback, to win, tell me and show me the list of coaches, Bruce Arians being on that list, that doesn't need a great quarterback to win. And that hasn't needed a great quarterback to win. That list is very short. In this league, you got to have the guy at the quarterback position. You just got to. Others are too good for you not to have that guy at the quarterback position because these defenses are great. You got to have a court general or a field general under center when you're talking about that quarterback position. But Brian, to your point, when you talk about Brian or Tom Brady having a bit of that Bill Belichick way or that just do your job, that Patriot way in him, he definitely does. And he talks about it. He talks about how Belichick instilled so many things in him that has propelled him to be the player that he is, specifically just locking in on every wakening moment. When they get on that practice field, give me everything that you got. And then when you get on the football field, you got 60 plays to be at your ultimate best. Prepare like a champion. Give me that time and be at your ultimate best. Those were things that Belichick instilled in Tom Brady. And yes, to your point again, Brian, when he is winning, we see Tom Brady smiling, having a juvenile time, a ton of elation. But when he is not, he is all business. And it's not that he's not all business when he's winning, because he understands how to keep the main thing the main thing. But when he is losing, he is trying to figure it out and identify where they have gone wrong and address it immediately. That's what makes him special. And that's what allowed this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team to do something special like winning the Super Bowl this year, Chris.